Welcome to episode 4 of Domiciled. Our next guest has been one of the fantastic drivers over at Montgomery Transportation, going on 4 years now, was driver of the month in October 2023, and loves to read in his free time, I'm told. Thank you so much for joining the Domiciled podcast. Coleman, how you doing, my man? Please introduce yourself and tell us where you're domiciled out of.
Coleman Elder. I'm from a little hick town in Alabama. So,
What's the name of the town?
Well, right now I live in Highland, Alabama. It's in Clay County.
Okay. Gotcha. And just a moment ago, you and Coleman were going back and forth about some safety Saturday. Let's continue, please. Keep that up.
Yeah, I'll feed into a little bit. Let me feed into a little bit of Coleman's interesting reading. So he walks into my office one day and hands me a book, and it's called Asshole.
Coleman knows what's going to go on here. Okay.
Yeah, that's what it's called. So he has some interesting reading choices, but always very educational books he's bringing in. But his last selection really made me turn my head and made me think about my day-to-day interactions. That's for sure.
Was it a good book?
I told you it was going to be a good book.
Yeah. I'm about halfway through, and yes, it's a very good book. It's not exactly what the title reads, but it has a lot of theories in there that again, very interesting for sure.
Well, that's good. Those kind of books are always my favorite. I think I'm one of those people that definitely is a sucker for if I'm traveling for work and I see one of those kind of pop culture science book where they're like, let me tell you about psychology or this or that. I'm always a sucker for that. But yeah, it's it's a hell of a title for a book.
Yeah. It's a theory. So that's what he walks in, he lays that on my desk, and he was like, hear me out. It's not exactly what you thought or what you think. It's a theory. So yeah, the whole time I'm reading it, I'm applying that to Coleman and I's interactions on a daily or weekly basis.
So I've pulled this book up, and I've got a belief it's a survival guide, how to deal with people who treat you like dirt. Is that the right one?
Coleman sending a message.
It's more of like a theory. The theory is of how the term asshole went from being a good thing in society to nowadays it's kind of turned into a bad thing. But how society still needs assholes.
Okay, no, I think there's some validity to that. Let's hear more.
Yeah.
What's your take on it so far? The world needs a couple of people that'll say what's on their mind and maybe give you a hard time.
Oh God, in this day and age, absolutely. There's too much sugar walking on eggshells. I grew up, I was born in '85. I grew up in the sticks. It was. Somebody said something you didn't like, you either popped them in the mouth, you said something right back to hurt their feelings.
Yeah.
There was no going, crying, and telling to mommy.
Yeah. I think we got a little bit of a rough connection. You're back now.
Yep. Yeah, he's back.
But yeah, I think there's something to be said about standing up and having an altercation. I mean, I can remember a couple times when I was a kid in the early 2000s, one of the neighbor boys and another neighbor boy didn't get along. And I don't know, it was just instinctual, but I think a couple of us were like, okay, they're going to fight, but we're going to make sure that they don't go too far. And then once someone fell over, everybody broke them up and was like, y'all are friends now, deal with it. Because we want you to get along, but I don't think that happens anymore. I think you got something. There's a point.
It's all
there.
mediation. Everyone's mediation.
And I guess as I've been reading this book, I was taking the wrong approach. Like, does he think I'm an asshole? But now that we're having this conversation, maybe it's a self-reflection book of himself on whether or not he's willing to tell me exactly what's on his mind.
Oh man. I love it. I
It's
didn't
a
know
good.
this was going to be like melee. It's just been a verbal melee so far between you two.
Yeah, I got a
Yeah,
feeling
no.
we're good
Oh
friends.
no,
Oh yeah.
no, that was earlier when I called him and I asked him. I'm like, all right, what do I expect about this? And he's like, well, they're going to ask you about, just trucking and Montgomery and how great I am. I'm like, oh, so I'm going to tell them that working in Montgomery is like working in one of those fairy tale lands, because one of my big bosses is a 6'7" leprechaun. I'm just waiting on him to leave his pot of gold outside the door so I can steal it and run.
RJ, are you the 6'7" leprechaun?
That is correct. He's left me off an inch, but that's okay.
Hey,
You're
you got
6'8"?
What is it?
I am.
6'8"? Oh,
I'm 6'8". Yeah, yeah.
My guy. You could use me
Yeah.
as a lawn dart. I'm 6'1".
So what? I mean, yeah. Did you just, if you're not driving a semi, like, you got to have like a custom. You can't drive anything less than like a 350.
Well, yes and no. It gets interesting in the front seat of my pickup truck, but you get used to it when you're this big and for this long. You kind of get tailored to it.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'm gonna be honest. You're not gonna get too much sympathy from me at 5'8", but you, I'll go. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. But I mean,
Oh man.
on the bright side, you'll never buy a foreign car because I don't think
And
you
on
can fit in any of them.
And on the bright side,
Nope.
I can always reach the top shelf in the grocery store, unlike you, Paul.
Hey, I got a step stool out there with me everywhere I go, man. That doesn't bother me at all.
And Paul can get in those tough to reach places. It's really about being a duo.
Yeah, it's really, that's why Scott and I are good friends. He's a little bit taller. I start the altercation, he swings, I run, I go hide, I come back, I talk more crap, That's how you got to do.
I'm waiting on one of the new guys to roll in like a Mini Cooper for a rental car. Because I swear to God, if I pull up on that yard and there's a Mini Cooper, I'm getting RJ to drive me to the store just so we can stick his head out the sunroof and have a reenactment of the Dennis Rodman and John Claude Van Damme movie.
That's funny, man.
I love it.
That's funny. So I got a couple questions. I know we're kind of just BSing here, but I'm always curious about a couple things. You guys mentioned, it sounds like you guys do a lot of flatbed and not too much dry van or anything like that.
Big flatbed carrier. Yep.
And
yeah, strictly flatbed outside of our.
Yeah, that's all we do.
Yeah.
So it's funny you mention it because one of the people we talked to last week or the week before, he was talking about if you want to make money in trucking, you get specialized. You don't do that dry van stuff and box van. You don't even do reefer. You go get specialized and do something that nobody wants to do or that people are afraid of doing. Like for him, he hauls fuel, for example. So what do y'all think are the benefits of driving, running flatbed as opposed to dry van there? That's what either.
Well, for me, it's I enjoy the physical aspect, the tarping, strapping, chaining. The last company I was with, if they thought it paid enough, it got put on the trailer. So figuring out how to secure loads, that was fun. But honestly, for me, the best part about pulling a flatbed is not sitting on a dock door.
Yeah, true. I see.
Oh, yeah.
Some things you don't think about. You get in and out for the most part.
Yeah, you're not having to wait. It's funny you say that. I work for a company that sells dock and yard management software, and one of the things we really talk about a lot is how can you communicate with the driver when they get to the facility and get them to check in. And one of the things we do to mitigate some things like that, this is a shameless plug, is to, when a driver checks in, at a yard or anything, a dock door, a facility, they can take a picture of a QR code, put their cell phone number in and the PO or the BOL number they're dropping off for, and it checks them in. And then the person up at the desk, instead of having to walk over to you, says, hey, use your phone, take a picture of your documents and pull on over to door 2 and I'll be with you in a minute, as opposed to, hey, why don't you wait out here and 30 minutes later? Oh, hey, I forgot about you. Yeah, move over to this one, right? But it's funny you say that because I think there's a couple times we've talked to folks that do flatbed and they go, wait, you can get flatbed drivers to do this. And so I've heard a lot of things to say that like folks that drive flatbed, it's kind of a different breed than your dry van and your reefer and things like that. Do you think that's true?
Definitely.
Well, how
Like,
so? Are y'all just cooler or what's the
a real good friend of mine, he pulls for a little small company, and the running joke is dry box drivers are little boys that haven't turned into men and realized that they could pull a flatbed.
Oh, I love it. Just
so
playful
then
banter.
Hot shot driver. What are they?
They what?
Did you like a ranking system?
Yeah, what would you call a
driver?
driver then?
What would I call a what driver?
A hot shot
Like
driver.
yeah.
I would probably call a hot shot. See, that's a tough one because they would either be lucky or they're just not old enough to get a CDL yet.
See, I have a funny one on that. I had a friend of mine who's in the brokerage space, just used to call them greedy tow truck drivers.
Greedy tow truck driver.
And I mean, because there's some money in hot shot loads, man. That's
oh God, yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, you can. That's why like when I was a broker, I sold flatbeds mostly. Like I found that niche. I moved whatever I could, but when I got a couple of flatbed customers moving anthracite out of PA, that's where like it was just great because again, everything Coleman said plus good money, you get good rips out of them. People who are load and unload, and they know what they're doing. Good drivers. So yeah, I like moving a lot too. Oh, by the way, Paul, your CEO is gonna have to cut us a check after that one. My gosh. What's the name of the company, Paul?
Oh, it's Conduit.
Conduit. Oh
Yeah.
gosh, good stuff. No, but so Coleman, other things you like to go ahead, RJ.
I think this is a prime example of the difference between a flatbed driver and a van driver. So I watched y'all's first episode. Great episode. I believe she pulled a van. She had this beautiful backdrop. She was at the house, nice shirt on. And in the meantime, we cut to Coleman sitting in his truck, lighting up a heater in a cutoff shirt. That's the biggest difference for me. Like he's just out there ripping after it, darts. Ripping stogies. So
yeah. Well, y'all are kind of the real cowboys of the road, man.
Yeah, I love
Highway
it.
Heroes.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. What would Dirty Broke? He said he called himself an asphalt cowboy. Love that.
Asphalt cowboy.
Yep. He was pulling fuel, but again, he goes without the diesel, nothing happens. So the trucks don't work. So you got to respect that. But Coleman, some other stuff we definitely like to hear too is like again, like we were chatting pre-show. Just some of the things you guys interact with. Again, people in logistics, we have our stories about dealing with shippers, carriers, whatever, drivers, but you guys live it, right? And people outside of logistics have no idea about it. So just what's some of the stuff that might seem maybe normal to you, but like just crazy to somebody not even in logistics?
Oh God, like
he's got a smirk on his face. Oh God.
Yeah, that's always good.
What's he got?
Well, like and now let me go ahead and throw this out there since the boss is on the phone. This never happened at Montgomery. But the last company,
give it to us.
The last company I worked for, we hauled I ran a lot across I-90 and I-94 and I-80. And I'd come out of Northern California with a load of redwood.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I dropped it at in the middle of nowhere in Wyoming. Dude was building a house with it. And I get on site, nothing to unload the truck with. And this guy just signs the bills and he scratches his head and he goes, get it off the truck any way you can.
Is this the foreman or the owner of the said house?
The owner.
Man, this is a
The
home
owner.
construction.
Yeah, I know, but clearly the guy's got money if he's building out of redwoods. Like, so you don't know.
So I unstrapped the load. I backed the trailer into a hard 90, and I just start playing with the clutch in reverse and rocking the trailer, and then all of a sudden you just see a landslide of lumber. I can't tell you how many times I used to have to do that with the last company.
Oh my gosh. Would you keep that to yourself, or was it like, hey, I had to do this? Like, how does that go?
Oh no, like I would call them and be like, hey, there's no way to unload me. And this guy's like, just get it off any way you can. And they're like, well, I guess you're going to be there for a while unloading it stick by stick. And they're like, I'm not unloading 12 pallets stick by no.
No.
We're not doing that.
Here's your pallets too.
Oh man,
Stick
that's
by-
crazy.
But,
Oh man.
like I think one of the interesting things about flatbed, and actually definitely with Montgomery, because they're the only company that I pulled for that's ever done it. I picked up a preloaded trailer, and I don't even think we pick up there anymore. But it was load of I-beams, and they were just like through on the trailer like pickup sticks.
Yeah. No,
And I got the back and forth with the company about trying to get it reloaded. So I called safety. And at the time we had Curtis. Curtis was there. And Curtis was like, well, hold on, let me get Frazier to call you and we'll see what's going on. And Frazier calls me and he goes, what's going on? I'm like, they won't restack it. I can't secure it properly. So I'm not running with it. Frazier calls the company, and the dude, the head of shipping comes out there and he goes, pull into Bay 1. Like, what's going on? He's like, well, we were told we either had to reload it or unload it and load all your trailers up. You were taking them to Montgomery. Frazier calls me and he goes, hey, if they don't load that trailer just like you said, they'll unload it and we won't pull for them no more.
Yeah. Oh,
like that
man.
was
Done.
for me. That was one of the cooler parts of Frazier. Yeah, Frazier's another character altogether right there.
Well, there's something there. I mean, there's a power you guys have. It sounds like, because that's, when you think about carrier and shipper dynamics, you don't hear a lot of those stories. You hear it more the other way around, where the shipper's kind of holding the keys and the leverage. Mm-hmm. But it sounds like, with how specialized you are and what you guys do, it sounds like you're in a position to put safety over anything else. And I think that's actually a really good story that sounds like it speaks a lot to your organization.
Plus,
Montgomery, us drivers, we have one magic sentence that shuts everything down. It's like, if we don't like the way something looks, or we don't like where we're having to go in to either get loaded or unloaded or anything like that, we call up anybody at Montgomery and we go, I do not feel safe.
I don't feel safe.
Everything stops. RJ's calling. Thomas is calling. Somebody out of safety's calling you. Like, what's going on? How do we fix this?
That's awesome.
It says, so that's like I don't hear this a lot. I mean, I think there's a lot of, experiences I've had that I don't think are quite like this, but I think it's really important, the safety piece. It sounds like that's real paramount. I heard you say safety weekends earlier, although I guess, Coleman, I think you owe RJ a couple safety weekends, it sounds like, but but
yeah, we can get to those after.
Yeah. Would you guys say that safety is probably the number one, probably right next to being, running a good show, running a good ship?
There's a lot of things that go into running a good ship, but there's nothing as important as safety, no matter what we're doing. Our number one responsibility whether we're in the office, whether it's Coleman out there on the road alongside the other close to 700 drivers that we have, is taking care of the motoring public and then servicing our customers. And we like to partner with businesses and customers that think the same way, and we want them to consider our drivers part of their team, because that's what it's all about. We're there to make them successful, and we're there to make our drivers successful as well. And the only way we can do that is by putting safety at the top of the ladder right there, and making sure that our drivers get back to the house and make it back to the terminal every day or every week, whatever it may be.
Yeah, that's not easy to do with 700 drivers.
Yeah, 690.
Yeah.
Right about that.
Gets a little challenging at times. I'll say, as you heard, Coleman knows the magic words along with some other drivers. You go to put a coil on a trailer and he doesn't want to secure that coil that day. I don't feel safe. Well, guess what? That thing's coming off there. So it does make it challenging at times, but all jokes aside, if someone doesn't feel safe doing something, there's no, there's no second attempt. There's no second try when it comes to safety. You do it right the first time, the only time. Otherwise, there is no second, like I said, no second try there. So,
all right. So tell me about, I'm also curious then too. So you guys are mainly sound like a fleet, like a motor carrier. Does you guys handle a lot dealing with brokerages, or do you go direct to shippers? What's that, communication like that y'all deal with?
So we do a little bit of both. We have a large customer base where we're direct to, and then we get into certain areas where we broker freight as well. But we have a large customer base that supports our drivers across the country in different regions, and then we also have a brokerage firm as well.
Nice.
Yep.
It's nice to have that in-house. I was going to say, it probably isn't you probably don't want to be dealing with a broker that, at least doesn't work for the same organization, because that's always frustrating.
There's nothing wrong with brokers, Scott.
We had this in our episode with Matt, episode 2 with Matt. Yeah, he threw a little bit of shade at us brokers, but all in good fun though. And I even admitted to some faults. Yeah, exactly.
I was egging him on. I was waiting for him to tell me a story about a broker saying he needed to pick up some big steel coils.
Yeah.
And he had to pick it up tomorrow morning. And, oh, by the way, it delivers on Wednesday, but there's, he's only going to make $100 off of it. So.
Oh my God. Well, so
with no address.
Yeah, exactly.
No address.
Long lat. You got some long lat.
No address. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually just a house up in Wyoming.
Yes, it's a house in Wyoming.
Yeah. Blind BOLs are their favorite. Where am I going? I don't know. Just go there. Oh, by the way, you need to get there tomorrow.
Yeah.
Here's your zip code. Oh man. So Coleman, coils have been brought up a couple of times in our second episode with Matt. Another Montgomery driver. He mentioned coils are his favorite to move. What's your favorite freight to haul, and what's your least favorite?
Ooh, coils are right up there at the very top.
Okay. I didn't ask Matt this. Why? Why are they the top?
Because I went. I was a year, 2 years in. No, a year and a half in, and I went and done it dedicated for about a year, and that's all I touched was coils.
Okay.
And I got a little trick for coils. You see guys, they'll sit there and look at the weight, and they'll start adding on their fingers how many chains they need. I don't do all that mess. Like, you put a coil on there, it doesn't matter if it's 40,000 or 49,999 pounds. It gets one chain in the very middle, and it gets the first number of the weight in front and in back. So you're always covered.
So if it's 30,000, it gets 3 in the front and 3 in the back. If it's 40, it gets 4 in the front, 4 in the back, and that's kind of how you figured it.
Plus 1 to the middle. Interesting.
Yeah, but there's always one chain in the very middle pulling straight down.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
With 30-something.
Oh no!
Sorry.
I interrupted you. Sorry, I was going to say, what do you think the biggest thing people mess up doing that is? Just being afraid of it? Or, I mean, it seems like a pretty ominous thing. When I'm driving down the road and I see one here in the Chicagoland area, I change lanes.
Well, the thing with pulling a coil, it's like pulling any load. It's not just knowing how to secure it, but you got to know how to pull that load.
Mm.
Like, you give me a load of shingles, I'm going to strap it, and I'm balls to the wall. I'm wide open like I stole it. You put a coil on the truck, I won't ever top the truck out, and I'm much more cautious with my brakes.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, it doesn't matter how many chains you've got on it. If that first chain ever snaps, they're all snapping.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Just
So, I
because
mean, you kind of, it's just one of those things. I can tell you how to secure anything, but if you don't know how to pull that load and how to use your brakes right without hard braking, but still manage to be able to stop in time, alternating your brake and your engine brake, it's just one of those things you got to learn how to do it as you do it.
So how do you learn to pull these various loads? Is it just, obviously I'm sure you go through rigorous training, but like when you say you have to learn how to pull these loads, like did somebody train you that, or did you just figure out like, oh, this weight just is different than shingles? Coil's different than shingles, different than beams.
Well, honestly, for me, it was starting off just absolutely scared shitless that coil was going to kill me. It rotating through the engine brake and the service brake, which is the pedal in the floor, and bringing that truck to a stop as smoothly as I could. And then just over time, I got more and more comfortable with it. It's one of those things, if you're not used to it, it doesn't matter what your delivery time is. You get it there when you can in a way that you feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
You might get yelled at for it being 2 hours late, but I promise you they'd rather it be 2 hours late than on top of you in the ditch somewhere.
Yeah.
100%.
That's a really good point.
Did you break up a bit?
RJ, one of our shirts.
Oh yeah, he's got that flatbed life.
Oh yeah, you got that flatbed life on. Flatbed gang.
I'm gonna need one of those.
Is that one of your shirts from Montgomery? Or?
Absolutely.
Ooh, you're kidding.
Yeah, I want one of those.
Yeah. Born in Birmingham, made for America, boys. Montgomery Transportation Group.
I love it.
Oh,
that's awesome.
That's awesome. So if you guys could do it all over again and get into trucking, would you be doing anything different? That's for both of you.
I wouldn't have got into trucking.
Just sucks you in.
Kidding. We kind of talking. I mean, you get sucked in, and like there's no going anywhere. It's in you or not. I mean, my first job was actually with a trucking company when I was 16 years old in the maintenance department, slinging tires. And Coleman doesn't know this, and I wish he didn't know this, but I was out in the maintenance department changing tires and changing oil and doing things like that. And here I am years later doing in a different role, in a different aspect in transportation. But once you're in, and it's hard to get out because it's what you know. For me, it's very, very similar for Coleman and I, but a little bit different. Like we walk into that office from 7 to 5, it's nonstop, nonstop multitasking, boom, 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 all day long. And the same thing for him, out there on the road. Hey, hurry up and wait. Is a phrase, hurry up and get there. And then when you get there, oh, by the way, you've got to wait 3 hours until they want to get you unloaded. But, all jokes aside, no, I wouldn't do it any different. I love flatbed. I love our drivers out there on the road, what they do. It's very intricate in what they do. There's a technique in everything. And It's amazing to see what guys like Coleman do, especially when I challenge him to tarping a load and he's done in 15 minutes and it takes me an hour and a half to 2 hours to tarp a load. But just to watch that is really cool. Like for me to see the craft that they put behind all this stuff and the shortcuts that they can take. While it may seem like a shortcut to us, it's still even more safe than what you would think. So I wouldn't do anything different.
Hey, it's that I think I've heard it called, a little tribal knowledge, right? Or you've got kind of the ins and outs of your tribe and what you're doing. And I think I've heard it, with folks in the brokerage space, that there's some guy in capacity development that can, you just say point A to point B, and they're not even looking at anything, and they go, yeah, that'll be $1,800, and you go ahead and call him and tell him that, and we'll get it right. Or in your case, it sounds like just knowing the ins and outs to be able to do something efficiently and safe at the same time. How long do you think it takes somebody to get that?
Your perfect answer is you never really do. You should be learning something every day.
True. Yeah.
That's the way it should be, because I've sat with guys like Coleman and other guys to where, he shares his knowledge out there on the road, and we're in a room talking about things, and another driver's been out there for 20 years, and he's like, man, I never thought about that,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't, and correct me if I'm wrong, Coleman, do you ever stop learning?
Yes and no. Like, you never really stop learning because, there's not a day out here that I don't learn a different way to do the same thing. But in a sense, you do kind of stop learning because once you develop that system that works best for you, that's what you stick with, because you're faster. And out here, especially pulling flatbed, the faster I get that load strapped and tarped and I'm rolling, the faster I get the delivery, which means the faster I get the next load. So, but no, you're always, doesn't matter what it's about, you're always going to learn something different, a different way. And if it's better, and hopefully you're smart enough to use it if it's a better way. But, a lot of people get stuck in their own routine.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, you always learning out here.
And so Paul, and second part of that, you asked, like, if he could start it all over again, would he get back into it? And also, Coleman, I can't believe we haven't asked you that. So that, as well as how'd you get into it? We didn't even ask you that.
Oh, actually, if I had it to do all over again, I would have never got into trucking.
Okay.
And I'm not even lying, just because of how I got into trucking. My girlfriend at the time of 3 years, and we had been engaged for 6 months, just left. Like, I come home from a 9-to-5 factory job. She's gone.
Wow.
So for me, truck driving, it was an escape. It was get away from everything, start over. And that's what I did. Kind of got stuck in it. So
it sounds like it worked.
It definitely did. And as far as RJ's, it's not easy to get out of. I got 2.5 more years and I'm out.
He's been saying that for 2.5 years, guys.
I'm not. I told you, when I hit 41, 42 at the latest, I'm done.
42 at the latest.
Yeah, I have a feeling 42 is going to turn into 50.
I'll extend it.
No, see,
more months, like, hey, let's go out west. He's like, all right, I'll take that run. Let's go. See you in 6 months, Coleman.
Oh man.
But no, it's and the reason I say I'm out in a couple more years, my land is almost paid for. My cabin's almost paid for. My Jeep's almost paid for. when I say almost paid for, I've got $5,800 left on my cabin, $4,000 left on my land, and like 23,000 left on the Jeep.
Yeah, that's great.
But I mean, I'm paying $1,000 a month on my land. I'm paying $1,000 a month on my cabin.
Yeah.
That's done in a few months.
And,
too. That's exciting.
And once the land's paid for, that $1,000 is going to roll over onto the Jeep payment, and then I'm just going to stack back as much money as I can in my savings, and I'm done. I'll go be a Walmart greeter.
Just want the simple life.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you gonna do any hunting or fishing down there? You said you got a cabin.
Yeah, that's where I catch a lot of crap back home because I don't go hunting.
Okay.
And I don't go fishing. I mean, yeah, I know how to hunt. I clean my deer, all that stuff. I know how to fish. But I look at it like this. I still got some money in my pocket, and Piggly Wiggly's right down the road. When Piggly runs out, then I'll go into the woods.
It's a last resort. It's not a hobby. That's funny, man. That's funny. So
that is not the answer expected. I like it.
Yeah, I didn't expect it either. If you guys had anything to say that you were like people that were looking to get into this space and they were saying, well, maybe I want to get into truck driving, or maybe I want to drive a truck. I want to drive flatbed, or in you guys' case, man, they want to drive a drive van, and you're like, man, what would you say to somebody, right? You need to grow up or something, as you say. What would you say to the younger folks getting into this industry?
Well, for me personally, I'm going to ask you two questions. How much money do you want to make, and how often do you want to be home? If home time is not an issue, and as long as you're making, as long as you make more than you was at your last job, you'll be perfectly happy pulling dry van.
Mm-hmm.
Me, it's not so much how much I want to go home, but it's how much I want to make. The majority of your dry van driver or your dry van companies are going to start you out in the low 30 cents a mile. And you're going to work your way up there. When we were talking before the show actually started, I was talking about how my first company was PTL.
Mm-hmm.
I spent, like 10 weeks going through their training program. And then I was out in a truck on my own. I'd done that for 3 months in jump ship. I went to McElroy Truck Lines. And I went from 33 cents a mile to 48 cents a mile.
That's a nice jump.
And went from being 2 weeks out, earned me 2 days worth of home time, to if I wanted to be, I was home every weekend. And you can ask RJ, sometimes they have to just know you're going home.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I've been with Montgomery long enough, and I'm actually coming up on an anniversary here in August, which will be my 4-year mark. I'll be at 58 cents a mile. And I average between 25 and 3,000 miles a week. So I make pretty good money.
Yeah. When Coleman, when our conversations start, he has a tendency to stay out. He'll run and run and run and run. And then he'll call me towards the end of that run. He'll either call me or Thomas. And I can hear it in his voice. I can tell he's getting tired, whatever he wants to say. He gets a little sensitive. He gets in his feelings. And I hang up the phone and I walk over to his driver manager and I say, hey, it's time to bring Coleman back to Alabama. And she knows that we've had that conversation. Let's route him on back. Let's get him out of the truck. And he gets a little moment in the cabin. Then he gets back in the truck and he's back on it. But I know, I can tell when it's time for him to get out of the truck because that's what he does. He runs hard. He runs hard for months at a time. And then I can just hear it in his voice like, hey, I know it's time to get out of the truck, bro. I'm bringing you home.
That's good. That's good on you, RJ. I mean, everybody wants a boss like that knows you well enough to know, hey, man, hey, hit the bench for a bit, hit the lockers, take a hot shower. I'll call you in a couple days.
Yeah. The last time me and RJ had that conversation, he was like, look, it's time for you to come home. You're being nice.
You lost your edge.
Oh, no. So that's what you mean. He starts getting nice. So if he starts complimenting you, you start going, oh, no.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. He gets in his feelings. He sends me a couple compliments. He's like, you're doing a good job, man. I'm like, yep. You're going home this weekend, huh?
Yeah. I'm getting an image of you taking pictures of sunsets out in the West Coast going, ain't this pretty? And you going, we got to get you home, man. You lose it.
Coleman's like, I'm going to start a scrapbook. What do you think of this for the cover?
Oh, man. All in good fun.
Oh.
Right.
I think when I first started with Montgomery, my dispatcher at the time was Bruce. And Bruce was like, so how long do you want to be out? I'm like, I'll let you know when I want to come in. It's like 4 months later, Bruce is calling me, dude, we got to bring you in.
Yeah.
It's like my first time out with Montgomery.
Yeah, they just knew. They just knew. So on average, how long will you be out for?
I've kind of started slowing down a little bit. Now I like to stay out for 5 weeks, but I'll come in on that 5th weekend.
Okay. And then you'll just take the weekend off for a full week, or what do you do?
I'll usually come in on Thursday, and then I'll leave back out Monday. Well, I'll leave the house Sunday night, and I'll be sitting at the yard in Birmingham Monday morning talking about, all right, let's go.
Yeah, there you go. So you have your 4 days back, and then you start itching for the road again?
Man, I started itching for the road like 2 days in.
I'm going to retire in 3 years. This is the road 2 days in. I'll be driving through Alabama someday. I'm going to drive by Coleman's cabin. He's going to be like swearing at a tree. I'll be like, oh, time for Coleman to get back on the road. That's how you know. Well, I'll get lost in Alabama. Like, this place. Oh, he's been home too long.
For me right now, it's like when I'm at home, I have nothing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll wind up doing stupid stuff. Like, and when I say stupid stuff, most people are like, "Oh, that's not bad." I'm like, "Really?" It's like last time I was home, I spent like actual home time. I spent $4,300 for a Samurai that somebody turned into just a toy. Like, I get bored, and that's what I do. And I'm like that ADHD kid. I see something, and I'm like, "Ooh, shiny!"
Paul wants that website.
Yeah.
Just let it out, Paul. It's okay. Be yourself.
Paul, you've got to be at least 6 foot to own a samurai sword, though.
I can't. I mean, I got to be honest with you. You know,
wants the toy version.
I don't really.
No, not a samurai sword.
What are you talking about?
He got it. It sounds like he got an actual little.
The little Suzuki Samurai cars.
The truck. You got the car. Thank God.
The other thing is like the size of a goat.
You got it.
Paul, you still
This is
got to
way
be
better.
at least 6
This is
foot
way
to
better.
Wait,
drive,
actually,
though.
guys, this is kind of turned around on all of you. That actually sounds like a me-sized vehicle. So I don't really. It sounds like it's exactly for me. So I don't necessarily understand.
It is, but luckily they cut the top off, took the doors off, and done like a homemade roll cage.
Yeah. This is wild. Well,
Yeah,
do you
I
at
could
least get good
take
use out of
that
it? Do
to
you
the
enjoy
Piggly
it?
Wiggly.
Yeah, take that to Piggly Wiggly.
Rolled it down a bank 30 minutes after I bought it.
I think
Sounds
that's what
about
you're kind
right.
of supposed to do. Yeah, I don't think you're supposed to. You're not supposed
Rolled
to
it
really.
down and bang. So it was
No,
no
that's
good.
exactly what you're supposed to do with that, so I don't ruin my Jeep.
Yeah. Well,
Good point.
it's got a roll cage on it. It's kind of begging you to do something. You're
Exactly.
not.
That's what I thought. Like I had to make sure the roll cage worked.
See, safety in mind right here. He's going, look, I'm cleared. I get belted in. I got this thing above me. I'm good. We can do this. I'm imagining you just going off of a jumping some berm in this thing.
No, it was more like trying to cross a ditch, and then it didn't quite flex enough, so it just kind of laid over.
Oh, that's the worst.
That's too bad. Oh,
That's the
too-
worst.
Was
But
it
that's
salvageable?
not that bad. It sounds like you're having fun.
Yeah.
There's some people that
Yeah,
go
but
home
it gets
and go,
expensive.
oh yeah, but it sounds like you can fix that with just a couple more runs. So
And that's how 1 year turns into 3 and 3 turns into 5.
yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking Coleman's got some cool stuff at the cabin. Got all
Cool.
kinds of toys.
When we all gonna see the toys at the cabin?
Come on
We're all
now.
coming down. We're all
Come
coming
on
down.
now.
Or up, I guess. Down for Paul, up for me.
Oh yeah,
nice.
because you're down there in Florida, Scott.
Florida.
Oh yeah.
Laws don't really count.
Yeah, y'all aren't really. I don't really know what Florida can. I don't think it's the South, depending on where you are.
No,
in
it's so the South. The South in Florida is the north of Florida, is basically South Georgia, but then also up the middle. People forget about the central Florida, like not central as far as latitude, longitude. Up the
All right,
middle.
you're gonna have to break
is
that
the
down.
South.
You're talking.
So like you got East Coast,
north
West
and-
Coast. So if you
yeah.
run up the middle, it's south, and also the north is south. But
So up
anything
is
on the
south?
coast, yeah, up is down.
So
It's stupid.
basically, if it's
Bizarre
within
world.
50 miles of the beach, it's not considered the South. That's retirement homes.
Yeah, exactly. So you get the city, like you get the beach town, then you get a city, and then you start getting the retirement 55 plus communities. Then you start getting like the big suburbs, and then you start seeing cow fields and interesting billboards. We'll leave it at that.
You think they ever fight each
Hey.
other on billboards, like two different signs?
There's one.
No, 'cause they
there's
all
one
believe the same
place
stuff.
in. There's one place in Florida I absolutely love,
Uh-huh.
and I have checked our handbook, and there's nothing in there that says I can't stop there.
There are places you
You
can't
all-
stop.
Well, don't you? Off
I don't.
I-75. It's Cafe Risque.
Yeah. Right near Gainesville. Right between like Gainesville area, north of Ocala.
Hey.
Yeah. Cafe Risque. We
Free
bear it
truck,
all.
free truck parking,
Great French fries.
free shower,
Free shower.
free shower. You get like 10% off your meals. Last time I was in there, I pissed off every stripper in the place.
Why, Coleman? You're getting a discount and free parking and a free shower. Don't piss them off.
Because I took my book in and I sat there and read my book and I ordered the steak. So I was reading my book up until I got my steak. I ate my steak and then
Bothering
finished
no one.
reading the chapter. And I pissed them all off.
Wait, you broke up a sec. Why'd you piss them all off?
He's reading his book. He wasn't giving him
Right.
he wasn't
Oh,
going to pay for nothing. He was
they
there
wanted-
for the steak in the shower, and he was going to leave, and they didn't.
Right. Oh my gosh. They wanted some of the big C, and he said, "Sorry, ladies, I'm reading."
He's like,
Expanding
sorry,
my
I just
mind.
spent all this money on a little motor car with a roll
Yeah.
cage. I'm not really.
Yeah. Crystal, I would totally have a dance with you, but I just rolled my mini samurai, and I can't give you a tip.
Oh boy, that's funny. That
Oh,
is
I
so
love it.
funny.
Coleman's losing it. Don't choke on the Gatorade, my guy.
Oh man.
Oh, that is so funny. Well, I don't know how we topped that story.
I think that's the best story.
That is such a good story. So on that note, Coleman, first off, we appreciate you hopping on so much. This is hysterical and informative to say the least. But before we go, is there any final thing you want to say? Any last story you want to tell that might top Cafe Risque, or just a message you want to leave with folks?
There's only one thing that's ever happened that tops Cafe Risque.
I feel like we got to hear it.
I was standing in a pilot in Ohio, getting ready to pay for my drinks and stuff, and this lady cuts through the line right in front of me, like takes 2 steps past me, walks back, turns and faces me, doesn't look up, buries her face in my chest, and like audibly sniffs my chest, and then throws her head back and goes, "Oh, I could go for some of that." Turns and walks out. The dude behind me was like, "What was that?" I'm like, "I don't know," but suddenly I feel like I need a shower.
No. How long has it been since you took a shower? Also, if she
like
were you
showered
fresh,
the night.
or... Okay.
Well, like I showered the night before, and all I had done that day was drive, so I still smelled like the Old Spice Swagger deodorant.
All right. Ooh, see,
that's a good advertisement for Old Spice, ain't it?
I can't whistle, but that was my best effort.
All drivers around are going to they're going to be searching out for that truck stop in Ohio from now on.
Yeah, there's a bunch of guys out there spraying themselves with Old Spice going, "Man, I don't know where she is. Where is she?"
I'm hitting that. I know exactly where he's talking about. I'm heading there tonight, boys.
They're like, "Coleman, you didn't say yes."
I don't think there was anything to say yes to. I think it was more of a statement.
She made a statement, not an offer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was a statement, and, it takes a lot for me to feel dirty, but I absolutely felt dirty after that.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
Like, I should chase her down and, charge her $20 or something.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, you charge her, right? You don't do anything you're good at for free.
Oh, my God. That's so funny.
Keep company and play Scrabble. Oh, shoot, man. Okay. Well, I didn't think you were going to top Cafe Risque, but
it topped it. RJ, thank you for letting us talk to Coleman here. I really appreciate you. We appreciate both of you. I hope you all stay safe driving. I know that we're getting into the part of the year where people get stressed out and it's summer and you want to be home, or somebody wants to be home. So, except for Coleman wants to be on a run so that he can go get some more toys.
Oh, man.
But thank you all so much.
I got to pay stuff off.
You guys, and what you're doing for the industry and the drivers out there on the road.
Thank you,
Hey, I
drivers.
appreciate it.
Woo!
Yeah, truck drivers.